So our doe Aspen is 3 days overdue now and is finally starting to show signs that she'll be delivering her baby soon, probably within the next 12 to 24 hours. This birth is especially exciting for us because Aspen is our first registered Nigerian Dwarf doe to give birth on our farm. She and our buck Thomas both come from some decent dairy lines, so if we get a doe from this pairing, she would be the first to carry our farm's name, and we would definitely keep her to see how those genetics play out in terms of conformation, udder improvements, and all that. After going through our first kidding season and milking goats every day, we've learned a lot. And we've realized that we probably should have started with registered animals to begin with, because we've really fallen in love with Nigerian dwarfs as a breed. And we are thinking about participating in milk testing, linear appraisals, and maybe even doing some showing in the future. Anyway, we'll check back in on Aspen in a little while. So later that night, Aspen went into early labor. I stayed up watching her until about 3:30 in the morning, thinking she'd start pushing any moment. But then she laid her head down and took a hard nap, so I did too. Luckily, we have a baby monitor set up out in the barn, so both Matt and I woke up to her labor noises around 6 o'clock in the morning, which were relatively quiet compared to our previous goat births. By the time we got out to the barn, she had been pushing for 10 minutes or so and had already passed 2 fluid sacs. Thank goodness. Now it's gone. There it is again. Come on, sweetie pie. I worry that means there's one which case I would have to probably go in and get the other one. Though I do think a one-hoof presentation is one of the normal ones. It looks like it's facing the right way. So at this point, the head has fully passed through the birth canal, and Aspen is just taking a little break between contractions. So I'm wiping the amniotic fluid and the sac off of the baby's face so it can take its first breaths. After that, I'm just waiting for her to give another good push so I can catch the baby. I'm not really assisting that much here. The hard work is mostly done. I just like to catch the baby in the towel if possible because they get super slimy, and this makes it easier for me to bring them over to their mom to get cleaned off.
You're all making it? Oh my goodness.
That one's fighting already.
Mama. Here she is. There you go.
This kid got up and started walking almost immediately and was very hungry. But every time I'd approached Aspen's udder, she would lay down and have these kind of strange, short, pulsing contractions. And because it had been a while since the first baby was born, and because this had happened 6 or 7 times, we figured she was most likely just trying to pass her placenta. So we decided we would let her do that before worrying too much about getting the baby latched on. So Matt went to the house to go check and see if the kids had woken up, and literally the minute he left, I looked down and saw another hoof. And I didn't even have time to text him to come back before the entire baby was born. It happened so fast. Oh my goodness. I saw a hoof and then I was like, oh, there's a hoof. And then like next thing I know, it's like out and it just looks like a skeleton because it's so white and tiny. So after she delivered the second baby, she started to pass her placenta, and we knew she was done. And we were able to get both kids latched on really easily and get her some molasses water so they all had full, happy tummies and could rest. We are having an exceptionally cool and rainy late spring this year, so I'm a little concerned about my garden. Aside from the stunted growth from lack of heat, the biggest issue that we've been facing so far has been the slugs, which have just done tons of damage. Every garden season plays itself out a little differently than the last, so I'm just trying to roll with the punches. Luckily, our herbs and cool weather plants are doing really well. I've got lots of volunteer calendula popping up everywhere, and the garlic that I planted as an experiment last fall just grew scapes, so I'm going to use those to make some delicious pesto or something. Well, both of Aspen's kids ended up being the most adorable little bucklings. Matt and I were a little sad because we knew we would eventually need to sell them to keep our herd numbers manageable, and we would have loved to see a doe out of Aspen and Thomas. But luckily my dad and stepmom just happened to visit the day that these two were born, and they fell in love, so they will be taking them home as wethers once they're big enough to join the herd. This means Matt and I get to continue to follow along with their story, which makes us really happy. And that concludes our kidding season for this year. It has been such a crazy learning experience for us to go through all of this, and we now have a much better idea of what our goals are here with the goats in the future, especially in regards to our Nigerian dwarves. So stay tuned for more on that.